prosecutor says this pursuit will not stop until he's brought back to face justice.
Right. So we all saw the OSP on the day that Mr. Ofori-Atta's promise through his lawyers to return to the jurisdiction and to make himself available for the criminal investigations about the corruption matters that the OSP has flagged. On that day, the evening of that day, once the OSP made the determination that Ken Ofori-Atta had no intentions of honoring his word, he held a press conference and renewed his determination to have him arrested and brought to face justice. So he redeclared him as a wanted man, a fugitive from justice. How harsh for a man who has so accomplished over many years and run the economy of this country. And just 2 days ago, we got the notice on the Interpol system that Ken Ofori-Atta has been put on the red notice. As the report was going on, you would see Ken Ofori-Atta side by side with, people with disturbing backgrounds. So that's where we are. Let's try to understand what is going on. Nana Jeba for a while was supposed to join us, but we understand that he's unable to join us now. So we will have Dennis stay back and help us with the discussions. Let me begin with you, Kofi. You've been following this. It must be a difficult place for you. I know why I'm saying so. Yes. So how do you appreciate everything?
So why substance is difficult, and I need to say this, is that it concerns the person of Ken Ofori-Atta, who I have known for more than 30 years closely. I consider him a friend and a mentor. He gave me a job at Enterprise where I was able to excel and make my name in a corporate world. He remained a friend. He's a fellow, a colleague fellow at the Aspen Institute, where he introduced me. I respect Ken. I think history will be kind to him, especially in his work in the private sector, building data bank, helping to build our stock exchange. It will be kind to him. But I cannot defend everything Ken has done in government. And I'm also not one of the people who abandons his friends because they make one mistake. So I speak on principle. I would say what I disagree on, but I want this to be clear, that I do not abandon Ken. I still respect him, and I'll still defend him personally. With that said, here's the point. The special prosecutor who we all worked to establish, something you remember, is doing what I think is fair work. Somebody may say, well, maybe he's been too aggressive. He necessarily must be aggressive. We asked for that. I remember when Occupy Ghana, all of us were part of that. When it went to court, the Supreme Court said, under the circumstance this country finds itself in, people who are given power, government power, to do things like surcharges, allowance, and fight corruption, must even consider discretion as a duty. In other words, given the situation we are in, it's good to have an aggressive special prosecutor, OSP. So in that sense, we support him. And let me also make the point, because of a subsequent point I'm going to make, that the law as it is today backs the actions of the OSP, the kind of aggressiveness with which they are trying to do their work. But let me quickly add that I disagree with the law. And to the extent that I disagree with the law, I think it will not be out of place for the OSP to chart a slightly different course, because the law says so. We don't have the time, so I can't go into it, but if I have the time, I'll go into it. If you read Article 14 and Article 19, you will see that the presumption of innocence is fundamental.
Correct.
And the Constitution is very careful. You shall not arrest the person. Shall not. Except under A, B, C, D, E. Okay? If you go to other portions, it says the person has no responsibility to participate in their own prosecution. I am of the view. In fact, the last time I was speaking about some things that I intend to take to the Supreme Court. I am stopped from doing so now because it will look like I'm backing somebody. One is what happened to Wontumi. The fact that when you arrest a person, you shouldn't be the one to give bail. If you read Article 14 to 19, you take the person before a judge. That's another matter. One of the things that I also believe
you can give bail. Police inquiry bail is lawful.
If you again, I wish I could do the law of it. If you, it's reasonable. It is lawful, but you don't keep the person 48 hours, then you slap a bill, which is unreasonable. Those
yes.
things. And I think
as for that,
good.
As for that, it's correct that they are misinterpreting the law.
That
once within 48 hours, you have not released the person on bail.
Yes.
You must take them to court.
Yes.
Right.
Somebody is arguing about, so those things. Now, one other thing that I sincerely believe, and I've even discussed with Martin because sometimes we don't have time. I feel somebody else should take it. It is not constitutional for any institution to declare a person wanted because they did not submit themselves to investigation. Why I say so is, again, if you read 14, the presumption of innocence is so fundamental. And it says you should not treat the person as if he's convicted. Now, we've done it over the years, but I always tell people that that's why Martin Kpebu went to court. And if you see all the things that he got, which had been done over the years, upon close scrutiny, we realize we're being wrong. Now, if you say, or if the Constitution says the person can be arrested, brought there for 48 hours, he doesn't even have to speak, then upon what do you say that because you are not coming and declaring you wanted, which is treating him like a criminal? And why can the OSP simply go and try the man in absentia?
Really?
Absolutely.
And they should be prosecuting all of us in absentia.
Well, I'm making the point. You see, again, before Martin went and said, even Medra should be left on bail until you can make a case against them. People were like, hey, Medra, if you leave him, he's going to kill somebody. If you read the Constitution, it says that the purpose of bail is to confirm, to make sure that the person will submit themselves to, court. My point remains, and again, we don't have the time for me to go through it, but here's the thing. If you are OSP, you are aggressive, whatever, you invite somebody and the person says, I won't come, arrest him. If you cannot arrest him or for some circumstances, he's refusing or whatever it is, proceed to court and try him in absentia. Or, as we do with bench warrants, go before a court and explain exactly why. It should only be a court that declares a person wanted, the way they are declaring Ken wanted.
You see the Interpol red notice list? Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
Have you gone on it?
I've gone on it,
yes. There are hundreds of people there who have been declared wanted by their countries.
Yes.
Those countries are not banana republics. It didn't take a court to ask them to be declared wanted.
It is not every country that gives bail to murderers. Our Constitution, if you read it
suspected.
Carefully, yes.
Suspected murderers, not murderers.
Well, has Ken been proven guilty of anything? I am one of the people who was most critical of Ken in office from when he capped statutory funds, ESLA, EJAPA, E-Levy. People forget, because of some of the things we've said in the recent past, that myself and my Imani brothers were amongst the most critical. So I'm not saying anything, but has he been proven guilty of anything? And I'm saying, why does it look like a man who is sick? All of us knew, okay? Why does it look like there is a certain pressure on him to pay his own way, to participate in his own prosecution?
At the bottom of the notice of declaration, you find that he is presumed innocent.
Well,
that doesn't matter?
It does matter, but that's lip service. If you claim the person is presumed innocent.
Let's not take some, let's take all of it.
Yes, I'm taking all of it.
The declaration contains a caveat that the person is not guilty until proving so.
But wherever he goes under Interpol, he can be arrested and detained and sent into Ghana
and
like
that's
a criminal.
A global, lawful
Does it make
process.
It right? There was a time when human sacrifice was allowed. The law is not always coterminous with justice, which is why I'm making the point that the OSP is backed by law in what it is doing. But I do believe, just like Martin did, that if people go and look carefully at the law as it is, what the OSP must do with all the law at its disposal. In fact, it's easier for you to try somebody in absentia. Indeed, if you read the Constitution, it says that you can try the person either with his presence or with his lawyers.
Yeah, so the question I'm asking,
my point is,
the question that is being asked is, generally, you have heard that question. So you want us to create a precedent where I can decide to steal as much as I can steal from Ghana. All I need to do is to just escape from this country. And not make myself available. You say the OSP must arrest the person, or law enforcement must arrest whoever they suspect, if they must arrest them. They have gone to court. They got a warrant to arrest. The warrant to arrest may have a limitation to this jurisdiction, but they are able to trigger it beyond the jurisdiction because of Interpol to say, we are looking for Samson Lardy. He may be in your country. It's the reason we have signed the mutual legal assistance law. So if you find him, bring him to us. The same way if somebody leaves your country, like they go to Canada and steal cars and bring to Ghana, and they are running away, arrest them for me and bring them. What's wrong with that system?
This is the problem. The person is sick or claims to be. He is in a situation where he says, I cannot come down. That's one. The law allows you to proceed against him in absentia. So if you want to arrest the person, you haven't gone before a judge or anything, and by yourself, you have triggered the Interpol, whatever. I said the law backs what you are doing now.
There's a warrant, meaning you have gone before a judge.
There's a warrant for
arrest.
My point is this. There is a law that allows the OSP to proceed in absentia against this gentleman. Why have they not proceeded to try him in absentia? Because look, you know, Sedina Tamaklo or so, tried, convicted, sentenced, and then she absconds. If you put...
Sedina was arrested. Sedina appeared before the court. Her plea was taken.
I make a different point.
In the course of the trial, she runs out of the country.
My point is...
And as we speak, there are processes to arrest her. She ran. Felix is saying she didn't run. Look, she ran because
Samson, I haven't made
she asked for permission to go for treatment and never returned.
That one must be clarified.
I haven't made the point. I haven't made the point. The point I'm making is, Sedina essentially, who was tried and convicted, who is now a convict, is treated more or less essentially the same as somebody who has not been tried, not been convicted, who might well not be convicted. There is a problem there. So I'm saying, please, OSP, look, if I had to advise Ken as a brother, I would say, don't come to Ghana. I disagree with all the things that have happened and I've criticized them. But for your person and for the kind of vitriol that has been visited against you, don't come to Ghana. Wait and let them try you, let them convict you, and if they convict you, we'll take it from there. Sedina was convicted. It's a different thing from a person who has not been tried. And the law allows them to proceed against him in absentia. Do that.
Okay. The OSP is here. They will be explaining all of this, but for good reason and strategic reason, I want them to hold their breath. We'll hear you guys briefly before we go to the OSP's representation here right now. Dennis, do you agree or you don't that the posture of the MPP about the arrest of the pursuit of Ken Ofori-Atta, not only the MPP and some other members of the public who say, well, we hear he's not well, so if you want, like Kofi just said, try him in absentia and so on. They say you are seeking preferential treatment in criminal prosecutions. You don't agree?
I don't. I mean, for me, what I want us to do is for all of us to be very, very careful with the kind of precedents we set for our country. I've always made these points in several other instances. I have seen chief directors in public institutions, I've seen public servants who had room to implement certain reforms or take certain actions, but they took decisions that they felt benefited them in that moment, retired eventually, and later they had to face the brunt of the same things they put in place. And that, for me, is the reason why I want all of us to be careful. The day or the moment I saw Ken's image on the Interpol Red Notice, I was very sad, extremely sad. To date, we are yet to properly understand what crime Ken would have committed. All we know is that The OSP says, I'm looking for the former finance minister to ask him questions related to certain issues, SML and other things, including National Cathedral and so many other things. So Ken may just well show up, you ask him questions, he answers, and you may not even have anything to prefer against him as charges. So I listen to the OSP and it's as if there's an ego bruise somewhere, to be very honest. All I see is that aspect of the point you made where you feel like, why are you trying to get a preferential treatment? Why do you think it should be special? For me, that is what I see the OSP attempting to do, to simply prove that you're no special. You are no different human being than all the others. That's why
on Newsfile, SP Kiseja being told me that they don't consecrate saints. Is that not the kind of independent prosecutor you want for yourself?
We wish him well. I am only saying that what I see, my observation, even when he's speaking about the matter, you know when people are talking, you look at them, the emotions they bring out, the body language, the posture. My view is that he's showing somebody who feels that my ego is bruised. I need to show you where power lies.
Ego is bruised by
Ken.
How?
Maybe he feels that I have requested for you, you are not showing up, you are not coming, and all of that. But some say, let's come to the fact as I have seen Ken's lawyers. So you are looking for him. He communicated to you that he was a what? In fact, after the time you were looking for him, he wasn't in the country. It is not as if he was in the country and you were looking for him before he went. No, he had written to the chief of staff long before. There was even change of government. And before you even started looking for him. Then he communicated to you that he wasn't well. Then he requested for a period, which you were even magnanimous to even add, I think, a month. Now his lawyers have circulated, which they didn't have to do, have circulated letters from his hospital, indicating clearly that his doctors are advising him against traveling until a certain surgery has been performed. We have seen that letter. OSP, as I have seen in their release, says that they haven't seen the letter. Fair point. The lawyers indicate that they have communicated a letter to the OSP. It's their words against each other, but that's not relevant. The key point here is that the man isn't well. Long before now, since 2020, it's been public knowledge. Why do you think a special prosecutor, with all the experience he has, would stand on national TV and indicate that somebody has cancer? When this person claimed that he hasn't even seen the letter, but he said it on TV, at least I saw it, and heard him, that he said he has cancer and going to perform surgery, so you have this information. In the first place, putting out that information by you and not by the person himself is a challenge, it's a problem. But he did it. And that is one of my evidence to make me believe that there's a certain ego bruise in there. Then beyond that, the person comes back through his lawyers and say, why are you doing this? Why are you putting out our personal records and all of that out there? Indeed, we have communicated to you that the person isn't well. His lawyers are advising against him traveling. He has a scheduled surgery date. Is it on June 13th? At least we have seen the letter, so we have every cause to believe the lawyers. And Mayo Clinic is a reputable health institution that in the face of their credibility, Ken is not so much of a person that will write such a letter to cover. Mayo Clinic will not do that. Anybody that knows Mayo Clinic would know that of all the patients they have, Ken is not one that they would cook up something to cover. But even if the person they are cooking something to cover, this is health matter. Now, like Counsel Kofi said, if I was Ken, seeing all that has been happening in the past 2-3 months, and indeed, I have such a medical condition, I would not show up. I would prefer to be alive than to come and be put through a certain treatment that right now I cannot guarantee, because right now in this country, you cannot even guarantee your treatment, and you cannot guarantee how you'll be handled by all these agencies when you are arrested. We've seen all that has happened in the past 3 months to people who have been picked up only on suspicion. Some, there were press conferences to date, even charges have not been preferred against them, and we are still going back and forth and all of that. So if I was Ken, and if the condition that they claim he has is what he has, something, I will not come. I wouldn't mind you putting me on Interpol Red Notice, so long as I'm alive.
Hey, Interpol Red Notice.
Because, why? I would come and die?
Don't say that.
No. Hold on. But you've already put me. Is there anything I can do about it? You've already put me there. So why should I come and be put through a situation that could cost my life? Why? Why should I do that? With the treatment we've seen, we saw Wuntumi come out of...
What do you mean by a situation that will cost your life?
We saw Wuntumi come out of Yoko and his left legs were almost numb.
Oh, really?
Yes, but the videos are there.
His left legs were almost numb.
Yes, we saw it. We saw it with our eyes. So Samson, the fact is this. We were in this country when the OSP himself told us that he flew from this country to London to go and interrogate President Mohammed's brother in London. He said it on TV, that he went to London to go and interrogate President Mohammed's brother in London. So the OSP clearly...
Samuel Adams the Airbus scandal.
Yes. So the OSP clearly has a precedence of actually going out to the country to go and talk to supposed suspects. So if you have done that for Mr. Mahama, Samuel Mahama, and you have somebody on the basis of empathy, humanity, telling you that I'm not well, I have a scheduled surgery, I am even ready to have this conversation with you via electronic platforms, which is allowed by law. Doesn't the law allow that?
I don't know which law.
No, but doesn't the law allow that?
I don't know which law.
No, we have.
We take evidence by
We can do that. Yes.
Evidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prosecution.
Yes.
We take evidence by video.
When you are investigating.
Yes.
We take evidence in
No,
by
hold
video.
on, just 1 second.
So
I've heard that claim in the public.
Yeah.
Since you're a lawyer.
Yes.
You say we take evidence by video, right?
In court, we take evidence by video.
Thank you. What did you say?
In court.
In court.
Yes.
Okay.
And the suggestion is that if in court it can be done, then in an investigation it should be possible to do so.
By which law?
No. I said the suggestion
No,
is...
those who are saying, he just said there is a law.
Okay.
Have you asked them to point you to the law?
So just for the sake of public, education.
Right.
I do not, it's not everything that is done simply because there's a law. I see no impediment to the OSP taking an interview by video.
To caution somebody?
Yes, I see no impediment.
What is the caution process?
Wait.
Can you caution somebody on video?
You are going, hold on. When it comes to arrest, the law requires you to physically touch the person.
Correct.
And read the person's Miranda rights and whatever it is.
Correct.
At this point, the OSP is seeking an interview. You may want to arrest the person, okay? But at this point, my understanding, you are seeking an interview.
What is the context of the interview? Supposing that I were your client and the OSP invited me. If you are taking me to the OSP, what sort of interview do you think you are taking me to?
I don't know. Is there who invited me? And given the circumstance, I may not accept the invitation. So the OSP will have to come where I am.
But you will advise me that going there potentially means that I could be cautioned.
Yes.
So can you do that cautioning in law? Can you do that cautioning by video?
So see, you are playing both sides. Listen, you are invited not to be arrested. You are invited to be part of the investigation. They question you, etc. If you are told, come here and let us arrest you, I don't think anybody will go.
But they never say, come, let's arrest you.
You're not getting me. So if the...
Relax.
So if as my client...
another time.
Relax.
Your time is going.
It's okay, we'll come to you. Relax, please.
If as my client, you are called by the police and they say, come and let us arrest you, 100% of the time, I will say, don't go. But if they invite you and say, come, we are looking to interview you, I will say, make yourself available. So I'm saying, to the extent that they have not told Ken, come and let us arrest you, but we want your presence as part of the investigation. The Constitution says in Article 19 that you don't have any responsibility to participate. But he says that if it is for an interview, I am prepared to give you an interview on video. I see no impediment for doing that. So if it is arrest they want, they should make it clear.
Okay. But you know in practice, as a lawyer, that when they extend an interview, an invitation to you, it's a courtesy. They really say, we don't want to come and, hassle you to the place. So when you are going there, you know that you'll be cautioned. And the caution process cannot be done by video, correct?
It's not always that I've taken many people to the police where they were not cautioned, they were interviewed and released. So the point I am making is, if you are going to arrest the person 100% by all means, don't give them a courtesy. Tell them, come and let me.
But even where they were interviewed and they didn't give a caution statement, they may have given an ordinary statement and asked to go.
I mean, we just warned and, or in fact, there have been times where it was to seek information, and when they got the information, they let the person go.
All right, thank you. That's fine. Now, let's move on. Yes.
So the point for me
you were talking about Adams.
Yes,
Samuel Adams Mahama.
And I don't want to pick, and I'm not picking on Adams Mahama.
Now wait.
Because of his name.
Do you know, as a matter of fact, that he's a citizen of the country to which the OSP had to attend?
Okay. So, in precedence, the OSP wanting to speak to somebody, whether he's a Ghanaian, he's an American, he's a whatever, did not put the person on Interpol red notice. The OSP went to the person. And again, let me put it on record. It has nothing to do with his name or even the matter.
They are suspects and they are potential witnesses. They are treated differently.
I beg you. As far as we know, and that's why I'm saying that where we have gotten to is an ego bruised. Because as far as we know, this whole Ofori-Atta matter started from come and let's have a conversation. That is where it started. It has only escalated. But that is where it started.
Okay.
It didn't start from you are under arrest or we are coming to arrest you. It started from we need you to talk to you and ask you certain questions. It has only escalated. I am saying that if the OSP of the Republic of Ghana ever had a cause to travel out of the jurisdiction to go and speak to somebody on a subject matter, then the OSP, on the basis of humanity, could easily have traveled to wherever Ofori-Atta is, speak with him. If he doesn't want to do the video conversation. In fact, one of the things he could have done is that you could go to him, which he was going to grant you anyway, and then when you finish, you say you are under arrest. I'm taking you back to the country without all this drama and gimmicks. I am only saying this. When we are making commentary about these things, we need to be careful. You made a point about the Interpol red notice. The fact is that on the Interpol red notice, there is nowhere that indicates that he is not guilty or is innocent. No, there's nothing there. I'm looking at it. It is clear. It's as if he's a criminal. It's there.
I'm projecting the OSP wanted notice to you. He says,
I'm telling you,
he says no law enforcement agency must be able to declare somebody wanted without a court order. That's the point I'm coming to. And he says the OSP's declaration makes him like a convict being treated the same way like
but that is what the Interpol red notice is.
Okay.
It's making any.
There was a specific purpose. That's what I did. So I'm going to project that to you.
So the Interpol,
I want for everybody to
on
follow.
The Interpol red notice, honestly speaking, if this is what we have put the former finance minister in, no matter how much you dislike him, no matter how much he irks you, no matter how much he pisses you off, at this rate, at this point where nobody has confirmed that he has committed any crime. In fact, the operators of some of the things we hear, you mentioned, are still walking around this country. We haven't heard that they've been arrested. We haven't heard that they've been arraigned before court. The bottom line is, if you strongly felt that Ofori-Atta has committed a crime, for which reason you could go as far as putting him on an Interpol red notice, which for me tells me clearly that you are clear in your mind he's committed a crime. Go to court.
Okay,
because today, even if Ofori-Atta shows up in Ghana, he could come and sit with you for 3 hours and not say anything.
That's right.
And all you can do is simply take whatever evidence you have to go to court.
But he will sign a caution statement.
When he meets you there, then he can also defend himself.
Okay,
I think that apart from bruised ego and somebody just trying to show him where power lies, this is completely wrong.
So look at what you are seeing on the television. Wanted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor. The name is Kenneth Nana Ofori-Atta. Then it gives you his bio. And then they give you the reasons for which he is wanted. They list them that the suspect is wanted to answer charges in respect of several cases, including strategic mobilization, GRA contract, termination of ECG, BXC contract, National Cathedral payments, ambulance procurement contract, and tax refund account utilization. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of this individual should alert the office by calling or sending a WhatsApp message to, they provide the number, and they give you a serial number contact. If we move forward, let's go on. There is all right. So at the very bottom of it, and when you go to the OSP's website, at the very bottom of it, which I was asking my producers to do, I'm holding a copy here. It says legal disclaimer. Correct. That's what you have seen there. Legal disclaimer. All persons are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. So this is what I'll do.
Interpol didn't capture this.
So Interpol puts people who are wanted. So the wanted gives a different classification.
We are saying that Interpol didn't capture this.
Thank you very much.
That's what makes it unfair on him.
The wanted actually tells you that they are wanted. It doesn't say they are convicts.
But the wanted are convicts and suspects in this case for Ken.
He's a suspect.
But there's no description as such. There's no description as such there. There's no description as such there on the Interpol website.
Okay, your concerns are noted. Briefly, yes. What do you say about the manner in which things have happened? No, I wanted to share this next slide with you before. There's this next slide about the history of what has gone on so far as Ken Ofori-Atta is concerned. I'm projecting that one too. Then I'll share with you what has gone on so far. Why Ken Ofori-Atta is back on the wanted list. And number one, he's under investigations by the OSP for 5 key issues. 1, petroleum and minerals revenue assurance contract between Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and GRA. Electricity contract termination, cancellation of ECG's agreement with Beijing BXC, National Cathedral procurement and payment processes, ambulance deal, Ministry of Health contract for 207 ambulances, and finally GRA tax payment fund, handling and disbursement of tax. Then number 2 on that slide, what you see is that January 2025, OSP names him a suspect, summons him for February 10. Then 31st of January, lawyers claim he's abroad for medical reasons. Then 5th of February, the OSP demands his return date, warns of legal consequences. Then on the 10th of February, 5 days later, unaddressed doctor's notes cited March surgery, no confirmed return date. Then on the 12th of February, he's declared a fugitive from justice. Then on the 18th of February, appealed to OSP, firm may return date giving, name removed from wanted list with warning of reissuance of non-compliance. So the wanted status was taken away from him. Then March 2025, he sues OSP over the wanted status, demands removal of history of the publication on the social media. Then March 28, he goes to the Human Rights Court, hears Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta's plea to block the OSP from future declarations and adjourns to 18th June to give a decision. Now, the latest developments have been that on the 28th of May, with less than a week to the deadline, lawyers notify that he cannot meet the deadline due to surgery scheduled for 13th June 2025. He offered to send a scan to confirm the illness, but no certified medical records or formal excuse was provided. No firm return dates and no confirmation of explanation regarding the March surgery. Offered video conferencing. OSP rejected it, that the matter requires physical presence, not delayed tactics. And now the OSP's actions. Arrest warrant was reissued. Then he was added onto the Interpol Red Notice for international cooperation. Request to activate extradition with central authority. And illness is not a shield from accountability unless certified as incapacitating before they will listen. So that's where we are. I'll hear briefly from you, and then we'll hear from the OSP.
Samson, the principle, as I know, is that all are equal before the law. But before I delve into the substantive matter, I need to clarify a few points about Samuel Mahama. Because Dennis alluded to him and sought to create a certain parallel between the two situations. Samuel Mahama, as indicated, is a British citizen. So he's not a Ghanaian citizen. So at all material times, unless he has come into Ghana, if you are looking for him, it is his country that you will find him. The second point is that even then, he was put on the red notice, Interpol red notice list by the OSP for 5 years. So it was not as though, even though he was a British citizen.
That was Amidou's time.
Yes, that is Martin Amidou's time. So it is not as though he was given preferential treatment. He was not. And the point was, he only got off the list after the OSP determined that there was no question to answer. So
that's why it was wrong to do it in the first place.
No, but I don't see anything wrong with it, to be honest with you.
Well, that's the argument I'm making, but that's fine.
If he thought that there was a basis to do so, I think that it is allowed that he does
so go on.
The second point too about Sedina, and it's important that I clarify. Sedina didn't run. Sedina actually left this country with full authority from the court in which she was standing trial. She said she needed to go and seek medical treatment. In fact, the court did not just grant it. The court sought two sureties, Mr. Alex Mould and another relative, to the tune of 5 million Ghana cedis. In fact, when Sedina didn't come back, the court actually held Mr. Mould. It was up until the point where Mr. Mould was able to show that he had absolutely no answer to give in that matter that the court set the surety aside. So that too must be clarified. And as Kofi indicated, there are processes to ensure that she is brought to the jurisdiction. But you see, something. Dennis laments Ofori-Atta's situation and accuses the OSP of overzealousness, even though he didn't say that exactly. That essentially is what he was alluding to. But the principle of equality before the law must be upheld. How did the MPP itself, when they were in power, through the Attorney General, treat others who also could say they were unwell? And in the last week or so, I've had cause to recount the case of Dr. Sylvester Nimana, who was the chief director of the health ministry at the time that the Atofosi ambulance case occurred. Samson, in solidarity with my friend, Dr. Atofosi, I used to go to court every time the case was called. And I used to sit behind Dr. Nimana. Samson. And I can disclose it because these are matters of public knowledge. It's actually documented in court. Dr. Nimana was suffering at the time from severe kidney failure. He had visual impairments. He could not see properly if you give him a document. He had hearing impairment. He could not hear when you asked him a question. And then he was consigned to a wheelchair. He could not move. He had mobility problems. Yet, the Attorney General dragged him to court every single time. He lived around Kwabenya. Every time the case was called, he had to transport himself to court. Sit there for hours.
He didn't have to.
Sit there for hours. Something, the day that he was put in the dock to be questioned and cross-examined, he had difficulty hearing. He could not utter one coherent sentence because of the ailment he was undergoing. He had hiccups the whole time, and yet he was put in the dock. And this happened for 2 to 3 years. So why is the MPP seeking a different set of treatment for Ofori-Atta? I surmise that the OSP does not believe the excuses that Ofori-Atta is given, and that would inform the reason why.
Doctor's report.
Yeah, but the OSP appears to have doubts about the credibility of the report. But the fundamental question I seek to, and I don't intend to.
First of all, the OSP says the doctor's report has not been brought to it.
Well, fine, but I have reason to believe, based on the OSP's posture, that he has significant doubts about the accuracy, authenticity, or if you like, the genuineness of that doctor's report. But the fundamental question that the MPP has to answer is that why do they treat one group of people one way and demand a difference of treatment when it comes to them? For instance, this won't to me matter. Of course, you can criticize the processes that are used in this. But can the MPP complain that in this account, it's the first time that anybody has been held in police custody or the custody of law enforcement in the manner that Wuntumi has been held? Why? You remember the Pegasus case, the NCA matter.
Right.
I'm sure you know that Mr. Tevi suffered from severe ailments, and yet he was dragged to court. No exception was made for him. Why is Ofori-Atta? Why should Ofori-Atta?
He was available. Ken is not available.
But the point is that whether you are available or not, if law enforcement determines that you must show up, you show up. And the history, as I have recounted, is that they don't discount, or if you like, they don't factor in the fact that you are well or unwell.
The Attorney General then didn't exercise the right to try him in absentia. Yes. They are now suggesting to the OSP that you try him in absentia.
At least in the case of the OSP, you can argue that he is an independent public official. So his actions are not necessarily influenced by a government.
Okay.
They were in government. They took the decision.
So
that despite the ill health of somebody whose incapacity you could clearly see at first glance.
Now hold on briefly for me.
Yes.
And hold on.
I will state it after.
And Samuel Apiadakun, responsible for strategy, research and communication. Give me just a couple of minutes. I understand you are itching and you are actually pointing to me that I'm not being fair, but hold on. Dr. Hadi Mohammed Abdullah is neurosurgeon with the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. We have decided to get a different sort of perspective to all of these debates. Doc, thank you for your patience being on air, online with us for all the time you have been. We want to engage you just for briefly. The medical report, as circulated, as we understand, by his lawyers, says that the Moyo Clinic, he's attending to treatment for prostate cancer. Is the OSP being fair in not granting him, some time to go through this treatment and feel well and then later deal with him at least? Please unmute your mic.
Yeah, good morning, Samson, and good morning to the other gentlemen in the studios, and thanks for having me. I must say that when it comes to fairness as a matter of law, it may be difficult for me to ascertain without knowing the conditions of the patient. Because when it comes to prostate cancer, we have different stratification of prostate cancer.
Tell us about prostate cancer generally and the kind of condition it puts the patient.
Yeah, so the patient might have just been diagnosed of prostate cancer, but it's stable, okay? And maybe there was just a small rise in the PSA level and further tests needs to be done. And then we also have advanced prostate cancer. So if in the case of an advanced prostate cancer, I would think that the person will need time to undergo treatment. So that is where maybe I would say maybe they are unfair to the person. So we need to know the state of the diagnosis.
From the letter, from the medical letter that we are reading from the Moyo Clinic, what do you see?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen circulating on social media, it appears as at March, from the two letters that I've seen, as at March, it was clear that he will be undergoing surgery. So it's very difficult to reconcile the two letters, because the second letter now says that he had to undergo MRI-guided biopsy. So it means as at that time, no diagnosis have been made unless Mayo want to send that information that the biopsy was the surgery that they were talking about. But usually biopsies are done as a day activities. Usually in Korle Bu Teaching Hospital is done on the ward and patient goes home the same day. Some even do it in the clinics, so it's very difficult to reconcile.
Hold on, you say that you're saying that potentially this is a situation where the person could have walked into the hospital and the whatever procedure will be done and then they'll walk out?
Yes, this is what we do in Korle Bu. And I'm sure in many hospitals across the country where urological services is available.
So biopsy is not a surgery, is it?
Well, it's a form of a minor surgery to say. It's a minor surgery, but it's not. It's surgery to gain diagnosis, to make a diagnosis or to enable you make a tissue diagnosis, but it is not the surgery to remove the disease per se.
So is it not logical that from what we are reading, the biopsy was in March?
Yeah, when I read that letter, it doesn't appear the biopsy was done in March. It doesn't appear so. And like I said, the two letters are really difficult to reconcile in terms of the chronology of activities that they had scheduled for him. Unless maybe he did a PSA somewhere in February where they saw an increase in his PSA and then decided to do the biopsy in March. But usually for an advanced center like Mayo, I was expecting that if your PSA is very high, even in Kolebu here, you'll be scheduled for biopsy as soon as possible because you don't know the aggressiveness of the tumor. So why would you wait for that long before you go and get like a tissue biopsy to know how aggressive the tumor is?
Going to this hospital, does it not suggest to you that the situation is quite dire? That's why perhaps Ghana, we can't get a treatment or we can't help or we can't do it as best as is possible. That's why he's gone there?
I think it has to do with his personal decision. But when it comes to prostate cancer treatment, Ghana is one of the most advanced in terms of prostate cancer diagnosis and treatment in the sub-region, where we've had high-level government officials in the sub-region across many West African countries and in-country as well, including members of the previous government and members of this government.
Okay.
I say this because I've had the opportunity to even treat some of them as a neurosurgeon who have undergone this cancer treatment in the hands of people like Professor J.E. Mensah, and they've survived for all these years and needed spine surgery later on. That is how I got to even know about it. I've actually looked at what Mayo does, and I don't think that there is anything special that they will do for a prostate cancer patient that does not really exist in Ghana or change the prognosis of the patients, unless maybe there are some trials they are doing in terms of chemotherapy, immunotherapy. Okay. And we have an oncology unit here. Those drugs could be flowing.
Dr. Hadi,
just not to cut you short, just to buttress this point, during the time of COVID, when our people couldn't fly out of this country, there were drugs that were flown in that were said to be the best for the management of COVID. That was given to some of these politicians because they couldn't fly out of the country.
All right.
So it is not beyond the capacity of the urologists of Ghana to diagnose prostate cancer and manage prostate cancer.
All right.
I don't think there is big difference between what Mayo would have done than what Kolebu would have done.
Yes, but like you said, it's a personal choice. Thank you very much, Doc, for this intervention. At least gives me an idea of prostate cancer and how it is dealt with and so on and so forth. And you can see that he does all he can to give Ken the benefit of the doubt in the circumstances. But like he said, ordinarily, some of these things, you just, you walk in, you get treated, and you move out. But if it gets to an advanced stage, then you may have to be in a situation where you deserve some time. Samuel Apiadako, why is the OSP so ego bruised, as Dennis Miracle is saying, and why are you so not wanting to innovate around the law like Kofi Bentil is proposing, to deal with the person via video or wait for him to be available?
Thank you very much, Samson. There are a few matters that I may have to clarify. although some of them have been clarified. So the first leg has to do with this assertion, which was beginning to gain grounds, that why is it that the OSP traveled to United Kingdom? It's important that we also deal with it, because it's been thrown about as if we are very...
So tell us why.
We are very unfair and unreasonable. The OSP had issued Interpol Red Notice for 4 British citizens, including Samuel Mahama. And it had become apparent to us after 5 years or more that the UK authorities were unwilling to enforce the extradition. So because they were British citizens. So there had to be mutual agreement for us to be able to go onto their soil and do investigation. You know, you cannot just go to another country and just start doing investigation. It's unlawful, you can't do that. So that's one of the reasons. The other leg I want to talk about is trial in absentia. I've also noticed it being thrown about. And I've been wondering, where is this coming from? Because if you read Article 19.3, there are 2 conditions under which you can try someone in absentia. The first one is that the person's character is very disruptive. And then the second one is that the person, after being placed, after becoming an accused person, decide not to appear in person. So if you look at Article 19, abscons. So if you look at Article 19.3, in all the cases, they are accused persons. As we speak, Ken Ofori-Atta is not an accused person. He is a suspect. And if I've heard some people also go to Act 30 and they quote Section 60 and says that
Act 30 is our criminal procedure.
Criminal procedure. You can file charges and just let it go. And if you check, those of you who have your Act 30, just look at it. It only says that, it only gives you the criminal procedure processes. It says that you can do so by a warrant or you can do so by a summons. Now, when we say a warrant, it means that the law enforcement agency will go to a court of law and will file. Sometimes you go by a motion, sometimes you go by affidavit and the police extract. And then you will detail the offense for which you are looking for the person, and then it will be granted you. Or you go by the second process where you go to a district court judge where you file a complaint, and a district court judge will then issue a warrant for police to carry it out. So either way, you come back to the same process where a person has to be taken through the process of arrest. So when they talk about trial in absentia, I'm like, wait a minute. Why don't you let us finish with the processes of arrest before you then bring in trial in absentia? But it's being bandied around as if the OSP is unreasonable.
So a person must get to the point of being named as an accused.
Yes, then
before you can consider trying absentia, and not when they are suspect. Yes,
they've been confusing the complaint you file under Section 60 of Act 30 as if that is what gives you a process to do a civil. No, that's because the judge will still have to issue a warrant for the person to be arrested. And in all these 2 scenarios, whether by a warrant straight away by the law enforcement agency in court or by a summons, you still detail the offense for which you are looking for him. Some people have said that we have not filed any. Well, of course, we have a warrant for Ken Ofori-Atta, and a warrant is based on an offense, using public office for profit, if people have not seen it. And then there's another one about because you put him on Interpol or because we list him on our wanted list, it means we've done something wrong. Law enforcement across the world have 2 procedures. Before we declare someone wanted, we will go for a warrant from a court of law. So it's not true that OSP just issues a warrant.
When did you get a warrant for this? Because that has become an issue.
I think somewhere in February. That's when we went for the warrant for Mr. Ofori-Atta.
Okay.
Warrant is taken purposely to arrest you.
Yeah, so not to declare him wanted.
What? You cannot declare a person wanted. I know you come in. Let me help him here. You cannot declare a person wanted when you are not searching to arrest the person. Yes. The only reason why so let me go back. The OSP, IOCO, and the Ghana police, they do not require a warrant to arrest a suspect. We don't need it. Act 30 says that we can arrest you with a warrant or we can arrest you without a warrant. The only reason why sometimes we go for a warrant is to kill all doubt. Sometimes you go, they are very violent and all that. So we go for, and then the most crucial one, if you find us, go for an arrest warrant. It means that we are not able to locate you. So we want people to help us arrest you. And the only way to do that is to be able to get around the warrant and then declare you want. That's why you even have the FBI wanted list. And they have the most wanted list. They even have 2. And people are placed there all the time. It doesn't mean that you have abused that person's rights.
As we understand, this warrant is actually in the courtroom now. And this is the warrant that the OSP is referring to. So you can see warrant to arrests. Then you find it the Supreme Court of Ghana.
I don't even think we should display this to the public.
But it's already in the courtroom, so we know it's a matter of public.
Yes.
And it's issued on the 12th day of February 2025. Okay, go on.
So quickly, I beg you.
I know
you just said
Wait,
that.
wait, let him finish.
But some information there was problematic. But
and so yeah. So the whole point is that when we declare someone wanted, law enforcement agencies have intrinsic power to also project such a person so that whoever finds the person can bring the person to, especially in country. And that's what the OSP does on its website and on its social media handle. It's done everywhere. So when the OSP does this and it appears a group of people are trying to project as if we are being unfair, I don't even understand because it's a standard procedure.
When Bentil spoke about that here, he's not speaking about just the OSP. He's saying that like all other law enforcement are doing this, as far as he's concerned, it should not be done. He's not saying only OSP does it.
No, I'm
because we know that all the other law enforcement agencies, they do this.
So I was always responding to.
Okay.
Then when we cannot find you in country and you're outside, that is when we activate the Interpol Red Notice. The Interpol system is just to help law enforcement across the world, 196 countries, so that we can, so I cannot find you in Ghana, but I can find you in UK. They will arrest you, hold you there till an extradition process comes in and brings you back.
In this case, you know his whereabouts. In this case, his lawyers have written to you. In this case, you know that he's unwell. So why the red notice asking how many countries to be searching for him?
I would have loved that his lawyers were here to answer a few questions. I'm sure that with the processes in court, we'll be asking some questions again. But if you say that we know where he is, if we know where he is by the say-so of his lawyers, right? So, and we also have our own intelligence. There are not a lot of things that we can tell the public. So the fact that they've said that he's in the United States, and I know that on Joy News, you did try to ask him whether the lawyer, which part of the United States, and he wouldn't even tell you. But suffice to say, the only letters that the lawyers have brought to the attention of the OSP was, so let's do the chronology. In February, as you are aware, after we pressed him, he did bring a definitive date and a timeline. He said he was going to do a surgery in March. He didn't say he was going to do diagnostic procedures, as the doctor was alluding to. Diagnostic procedures is when you do the biopsy and all that. He didn't say that. He said he was going to do a surgery, 21st March. That's when the OSP gave him some time. And he said he will need 1 month to recuperate. And his doctor actually said that. So we gave him time. So you need 1 month, we'll bring him to April. But we said that come 2nd June, we gave him. So you see that they wrote to us on 28th February. That's some 3 days ahead of the press conference to say that in that letter, they even acknowledge that we have indulged them, because the lawyers start by saying that, thank you for indulging us. And then they go ahead to say that he has prostate cancer and that he won't come because he's slated for a surgery. They don't attach any medical record. It's just the piece of letter that they bring. No attachment, nothing. They don't tell us about what happened in March. Was he able to do the surgery, and why didn't he come? Nothing of that sort. And then suddenly we see another piece of letter from a hospital addressed to nobody to whom it may concern. Because remember, the OSP currently is the law enforcement agency that's That's at least that has come out to say it is investigating you. I know others are also investigating him. But if you want to address us, then an official letter must come from Mayo Clinic addressed to the special prosecutor and then detailing whatever is going to you. Now,
you're saying you have received a letter, but your problem is that it's addressed to whom it may concern.
I've said that we have received a letter through his lawyers that details that he's going to do a surgery without any medical record attached to it. Then we have seen a second letter that they leaked through Asase Radio and spread all over. In that letter, we see a letter that is coming from a hospital, but that letter is addressed to whom it may concern. And I'm saying that even if that is the purported medical letter, it can't even be a medical letter because it is merely a letter stating that he will go through a surgery. And I'll come back to something very soon.
They suggest that this letter is in a stash of documents in which you must know that it is available to you.
That's what I'll come to. I'm saying that that piece of letter which we have seen, that letter even is not addressed to the special prosecutor or to a court. It is to whom it may concern from a doctor that has signed. Of course, we know Mayo. Mayo is a place where you can even bring your own doctors from anywhere. They grant you the facility to use it. So our point is that we have checked even Mayo. I did my research, not even the office. And I noticed that at Mayo, a patient, they have said that they don't want law enforcement or family members to bombard them with cross-checking things. So Mayo has an online portal that says that a patient has the right to give third parties access. So if, for instance, Mr. Ofori-Atta wanted us to see his medical record, all he needed to do is to grant us access. Mayo says that once the patient grants you access, you will see the entire medical report.
I've seen that as well.
Yeah, so it's online that he could have chosen, but he didn't.
Right.
Now we are told that on the 27th, they filed an affidavit, a supplementary affidavit, because they've already in court trying to get the court to declare that we had declared him wanted without an arrest warrant. We have produced to the court that we declared him wanted with a warrant. They have filed a supplementary
affidavit. We have shown that warrant to the world now.
They filed a supplementary affidavit in which they are seeking, among other things. But in that supplementary affidavit, it was filed on the 27th, but it was served on the office somewhere on Tuesday or Wednesday. So it was not before we did a press conference. That's why we said that we didn't see. But in that supplementary affidavit, they list a number of documents they've attached. And in that supplementary affidavit, which I have a copy, I can let you have a look at it, they don't attach a medical record, although the letter from the purported doctor lists some attachment. But nowhere in the court document have they attached it. And it now makes sense to us in the letter that came from the lawyers to us. They had indicated that if we wanted to see his medical record, they could meet us somewhere and show us. Or they could let the court know, and then we'll go to court and view it. Our point is that it is not us who have to show anything. It is you who is seeking excuse. You have to take that steps and show us. In any case, our point is that in all the letters that we have seen, nowhere in the letter does it say that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated.
Okay.
And something, just finally, our point is that you can be sick, but you still have to face law enforcement. The only time you can say law enforcement should excuse you is when, 1, you are bedridden. 2, you can't even talk. You can't move. Nothing at all. You can't travel. The question we're asking that between February and June 2nd, has Mr. Ofori-Atta traveled or not? Has he been sick on a hospital bed in Mayo from February up to now? Because his letters are conflicting. The current letter says that he finished diagnostic procedures in March. Now, if you finish diagnostic procedure in March, then you have April, May, June to have come to us before your next surgery.
Question: why can't you do a video conference with him?
I thought I had answered that. The point is that for you to take a caution statement, and that's why the special prosecutor says something, that it appears that suspect Ken Ofori-Atta is trying to tell the OSP how one to arrest him, how one to investigate him, and 3, how we should conduct our work. That is not up to him to say. Now he sends us a letter and says that I want you to take my caution statement through video conferencing. How do we take a caution statement when we have not even taken you through any arrest procedure? And how do you know that it is just a caution statement we want to take from you? We are the ones doing the investigation, and we say that your presence is needed. Other than that, Samson, this is what is going to happen. From what he's telling us, everybody in Ghana, including Wuntumi, when Yoko said he should come, all Wuntumi should have said was that, oh, if you have evidence, things against me, go to court and file it. Don't come to me. So the hundreds of people who have been arrested by police today, all of them should tell Ghana police that I don't need to come before you. Go to court and file your charges, and then I will come there and send my lawyers there. That would be absurd.
Can't you make an exception, or you are afraid that when you do that, you open the floodgates?
It's not about exception. It's about what the rules are. And I'm trying to say that the rule is that you must go through a certain procedure before you can take a person's caution statement. We are not done with that.
Okay.
For instance, we cannot arrest him through Zoom.
Okay.
And if we can arrest you by law, we cannot take a caution statement from you. That's why...
But the OSP itself has said that with whether or not he makes himself available, you are proceeding to press your charges at the last press conference.
Yes, he did say that. He talked about trying absentia, but it has to be understood in context, which is that we would have done the Interpol process, which is an arresting procedure and all that, and we'll be able to move ahead with that.
So you must first hit a snag with all the processes. You must exhaust all of it.
Yes, we must do something like that before that. So I want to state on record and to tell Ghanaians that the OSP has been very fair and professional in handling. Mr. Ofori-Atta is not the only person who we are investigating. As we speak, there are over 30 people who are on bail right now that nobody knows about them. And yet they will be facing charges very soon in court. But nobody has heard about them. They are on bail. They are the only ones who know that they've come before OSP.
Okay. Right. Now we know that you guys, what you do is invitation. You don't go arresting people. But when you invite us, we know that you are going to arrest us. Now we know from you, from what you have said. So there is a certain correction that we need to make. That there was a reference to the Dr. Anemana situation. We understand that, you know, when the trial started, the trial lasted about 2 years and not over 2 years. When the trial started, I think his condition was not what it was when it was going on.
Sometimes it was. And
that throughout the trial, you know, they conducted the proceedings at his pleasure. No. So that if he's not too well, they allowed him some time, you know, and...
Samson, finish. But you see, you are responding to me. We don't have time. Samson, from day one, Dr. Adimana came in a wheelchair. You could see clearly that he was undergoing kidney treatment. He had hearing impairment. He had visual impairment. It was only on one occasion where he got a crisis. So the court closed. In another instance, he was actually admitted for 2 months at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital while the trial was ongoing.
Was it 3 years?
It was 2 years. It was December 2022 to around October 2020.
Okay.
So 2 years.
Okay. Yes. All right. So as we know, in that case, eventually he was allowed to go to India for treatment, and then subsequently there was a nollie prosequi entered for him.
Because at that point they saw that something the man could not even speak in court. Okay. So what does he do in court?
All right. Thank you.
The man could not even speak.
Exaggeration.
But I'm not exaggerating. It's true.
And Eid Mubarak to our Muslim friends, and for us to say thank you for patronizing Konati Clothing the manner you have done. Ahead of Father's Day, there's again a 10% discount treatment for all who will make their orders from Konati Clothing for their outfit. The number to call is 0244 676732 0244 676732. That's the contact to deal with. I'd like to say at this point that there are tons of messages that have come in. I was hoping that I could share just one of them. I was hoping, I thought I was off air. Please forgive me. The OSP went to London because Samuel Mahama is not a Ghanaian and an ordinary resident in the UK. He had no choice. he's ordinary resident there. Then a number of things. Kakra Samoa says that I was arrested by Iyoko under the Akufo-Addo government. I was charged. I bailed myself and walked away. Ken is afraid, or what is happening? Too many of your messages, and lawyers, all of you sending in messages. Thank you all very much. That's all time will allow us. And I need to say that, yes, this program is brought to you by Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner, MTN everywhere you go, Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa, Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 31 years, DBS Industries, Roofing, Papa Fee, My Way Insurance. Dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Flamingo Paint, simply superior. Syntex Tank is strong, it's tough. And Activa Insurance. They are proudly associated with Newsfile, which you have enjoyed for 30 years or so now. Have a good afternoon.